Michael, welcome to the show.
Hey, Casey, glad to be here.
Sounds like you have a very interesting service product that you've started and got out there. I'm excited to learn about it. Before we get into all the nitty-gritty details, I'd love to know a little bit more about your background story. What got you to this point, and why are you interested in solving this problem that you're working on ultimately?
Honestly, it's awesome. A lot of fun. How did we get here with Protiv? I think so much of it, like all of us who are in contracting, it started with a problem. In our case, it's probably one you can relate to, was carpentry, of all things. And we're renovating apartments in New York City, and our carpenters were we're doing kind of the same thing over and over again, kind of, doing one apartment after another. And our carpenters were taking about 10 hours to get the cabinets hung, countertops on, etc., on average. And when we looked at our schedule, we really kind of needed it done in 8 hours. You got this tight schedule, someone's trying to move in. And we kind of went to our team, about $40 an hour, 10 hours, $400. We said, guys, can you please get this done in 8 hours? It just works so much better on the schedule if you're in and out in one day. And we'll pay you the full $400. Just, let's go. And turns out they can actually do it in about 6.5 hours. And it just makes you kind of wonder how good a manager I am. But it was the beginning of a journey of, I'll call it, of alignment and partnership with our workers. So our construction company grew. We do, again, large scale multifamily renovation work in New York City. And we grew quite a bit. We have over 100 employees in the field now. We self-perform pretty much all of our work. And we wanted to reward our team when they got more done. And our team wanted to earn more money if they were to hustle, do good quality work the first time. How could we bring those two things together in a legally compliant way that benefited both parties? And that was really where Protiv began, going back like 5 years and 12,000 projects ago. So it's been quite a journey to get it to this point.
So talk a little bit then about what you did at that point. So that obviously kicked off Protiv. You said, I'll pay you the same amount, but you get it done quicker.
Yeah.
What did you do after that? Did you start working that with other workers, or how did that factor in?
Yeah, like a lot of things, you started on a spreadsheet, and you're tracking Bob doing how many hours on this project, how much money's in that. And it's funny, I talked to a lot of contractors now who have something like that, right? Where they're trying to link their budget back to the way they pay their team in Excel usually. And it was such a pain, and especially when you go past like 20, 30, 40 employees, lots of projects moving, people on and off of jobs. Excel was starting to kind of break down on us. We were doing more than one trade at this point. And so we really looked at it like we need some software to manage this idea. And at its heart, it was about taking care of the workers who would step up, right? If they're willing to really bring it on the job, do it right the first time, don't waste time on the job, work as well as a team, communicate well. If they'll do their part, how can I push as much of my labor budget into their pocket as possible? So I'll also go to a couple of theses that we began with. One is we wanted to pay sustainable bonus money, not one-time off kind of quarterly, annual type things. To create a bonus program that is sustainable for most contractors, you need to pay it from your labor budget, material budgets, etc., not from profit. If you pay it from profit, it's going to have to bounce around too much. So we found that a sustainable program had to originate from the labor budget. So if I budgeted $2,000, you can get this done in an hour. I'll give you the whole $2,000. That's what I had budgeted anyway. And I found that I could sustainably pay that money because I'd already planned on paying it when I did the job. So what I needed was the workers to see that. So our first big step forward that turned into Protiv was we showed the workers in the field the budget so they could see how much was there, how many hours, how many dollars for their task. and for that team, if in team projects. And when they could see it, they began to change behavior because they understood what was in it for them and what it was worth to them. That was really the big aha moment, was that visibility, transparency, simplicity of a bonus program in the hands of the workers that they could understand, utilize, lean into. That began the culture shift that we really wanted.
That sounds great. Like in theory, it sounds fantastic. So I'd like to dig into little details. I have questions just thinking about
Absolutely.
being in the construction industry. We do our contracts a little different too. I'll start with this though. What if the project is under bid, right? So I don't know. I guess if you're doing
Yeah.
the same thing over and over again, right, that's probably won't. But if there's a chance that there's something that's underbid, it's just a mistake. And then the other alternative is, no, there's just a change order. There's something that we weren't expecting, or the client wanted to
Sure.
change something, right? There's kind of two options, two things that could happen there. How do you manage that?
Yeah, both happen frequently, and hopefully not too much on the underbid part. But what we knew, I will say, one of the first versions of this we tried, we created that kind of a fixed target amount for the team. And if it took them longer, they started to make a little less. We actually found that was not a good model, that it was more of a traditional piecework structure. We actually got rid of that. What we found is that when someone was afraid they were going to make less, like if the job wasn't bid right or materials were delayed or whatever reason, it doesn't matter. That's when they started to cut corners and you started to see the quality issues pop up. So what we find is that piece rate in and of itself is not a good model for construction because it doesn't recognize the fact that people are afraid to lose. That fear of loss is a really powerful psychological, engine in your mind that says, I've got to rush this because I can't go home, to mama and say I made $18 instead of $20, because something didn't go well at work. That's not going to go over well. And so what we found is we needed to keep a base hourly rate for the team. So what we have in the system today is that if they make $20 an hour, if that job goes over, they still make $20 an hour. There's no downside for the worker. It's an incentive for them to want to produce better. And that psychologically was a much more powerful mindset for the team. The second part you talk about is change orders. That's actually a relatively straightforward feature in the software. If you have a change order, you update either your dollars or your hours, depends on how people did it differently. That is going to go into that. It flows through to the team so they can see the updated targets for that job. And so if you had 1,000 hours in the project and that gets updated, Mrs. Smith wants something new, she wants to add another bathroom, we got another 100 hours in the job, then we can push that through and the team will see the new target hours that they have. And that really, it allows, one thing we found, sometimes workers were doing tasks for customers that the company didn't know about that should have been change orders. And now the workers actually come in and say, hey, boss, I think she wants us to do, I think he wants us to do some additional thing. I don't think that's in our scope because they're very sensitive to it now because they get paid more as soon as they're done if they get that job done early. So it's pretty interesting. We've had a couple of clients mention to us that their team lets them know about potential change orders that they may have missed in the past.
Interesting. Yeah, it's a good way because now they somewhat have skin in the game. They don't technically do, but they have a chance to make more, right? If they get those
They
change orders.
feel like they do. They do. They feel like they're part of the team, of the equation, on the same side of the table as the owner a little bit. They begin to think that way. The culture change to this is the whole secret. People often try a program like ours instead of, they want to pay a little bit better, they want to control labor costs, get more production. I would almost say that's the result of what you really want, which is a culture change. What you really want is the team to care. The minute your team cares, all the rest of the stuff is easy. It comes by default. If your team
Mhm.
wakes up in the morning and they care about your logistics, they care about your material delivery schedules, they care about the quality of their coworkers, they care about the cleanliness of their job site because it allows them to be more efficient. The minute they care about that, you're winning. I don't care what else happens. Bid the job over, bid the job under, no matter what the situation is, it's better than it would have been. And we get we get the best performance out of companies that lean into making this a cultural evolution that aligns the team towards a common set of goals.
Right. Does this work for cost plus contracts? Like we do cost plus, right? So we're billing by the hour for any work. We have sub trades as well. And we know, I know other contractors who are doing cost plus. There's a lot of people, a lot of companies do that, right? And a lot of them are, a lot of them don't do labor like we do, but they're doing management. It's kind of like cost plus their hourly rates for any management they do, and then a markup.
Yeah, I suspect that we would look at it as more of a time and materials type project. And I probably wouldn't put ProPay, we call it ProPay, onto a cost plus project. It really excels when you have that fixed bid, when you know that I've got $20,000 in this job in labor, and I'd like to beat that number. I certainly don't want to go over that number. If someone is giving you a cost plus contract, then they probably care a lot more. Your client probably cares more about the productivity on the job at that point. Sometimes it depends on how your contract is set up. Do you have schedule completion incentives that you can, raise your profit numbers on? I've seen different structures like that get created. There's some incentives for beating the schedule, some penalties for falling behind. But I would think time and materials jobs, sometimes in those type of structures, that's kind of already built into that model a bit. And I would probably
to some extent, because there's definitely an advantage. So for us, there's an advantage to making sure jobs get done quickly. Clients maybe sometimes don't, but a lot of people hire us. So the ones who don't hire us, right? Yeah. So
yes,
because we get paid on labor, but we also get paid on markups on certain products. And if jobs are slower, then we're making less on the other side, right? So we want to keep jobs moving ahead as quickly as possible, or actually that does hurt the business. So we are looking for ways to incentivize our employees for sure. But we just haven't figured that one out yet.
Yeah, you really look at it, as long as you've got in your head what the goal should be, a reasonable goal. You don't want to compress it too much. The team can't beat it. They don't stay as motivated. A reasonable goal to say, guys, let's hustle and get this done. There's a lot of advantages to finishing jobs ahead of schedule. And it's not just the labor savings. For some companies, it's now I've got less equipment hours. For some companies, I've got my team on the road fewer hours. Every hour I get that truck back to the shop sooner, it's saves me money every month in against how often they crash my truck. There's this whole energy behind let's finish jobs sooner because it creates capacity. Remember, our industry, I think we have 350,000 job openings across construction right now. Be 750,000 in 2 years. We don't have enough people. We need to get more from the team we have today. And you're not going to be able to hire enough great people to probably meet the demand that is out there in the marketplace. So let's get that current team we have to produce another 10 to 20%. That's a lot of revenue that can flow through our organizations before we have to add that next headcount.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. For sure. Now, what are some of the challenges that you're facing? That could be either with implementing this or just within teams who have implemented this. And what are you doing to overcome those?
So I think the integration thing is the big opportunity for us. We have some integrations in place for Protiv to where the time and attendance data that where your team is clocking in and out in the field, the more that can flow seamlessly to our software, the better. So where we have those systems in place, fully integrated, like QuickBooks Time and some others that are out there, that's great for us. If it's not integrated, then there's an administrative step to upload time once a day, which is not that painful, but I still would prefer it just to be integrated straight into current processes. We're trying our very best to be very Switzerland. We will work with whatever time and attendance system you have, work with whatever payroll system you have. We just take data from one, push to the other. But that we see an opportunity for us, the more integrated it is into current processes, the more seamless the program operates. The other, I would say, opportunity that we see is how we take the worker who has decided they want to make more because they see the opportunity and then says, okay, how do I do that? I want to make more. I saw Bob made more. How do I learn? How do I evolve? What's the best practice? And where do I get that training and that education to take my next step forward? Because I can see the dollars in front of me. I don't have to go ask for them. My company has put the money right in front of me that I can go get. I just have to learn to be better at what I do. So we're seeing this feedback loop start where people are saying, wait a second, what is the best way to do this task? Because I really want to do it the best way, the fastest way, the most efficient. That's a thing that we feel coming, and we're starting to see that pressure build around that, where workers want to know how to get better.
Yeah, that brings up another question for me. Now, for example, we do a lot of different things, right? We don't just do cabinets, or we don't just do framing, or we don't just do flooring. Sure. Our yep. Carpenters will do a lot of different things, and sometimes we'll sub out certain things, and other times we have to do it, or it just makes sense for us to do it. How do you manage that? Even let's just assume we were a fixed price and we were pricing each section individually, but it might be a different crew that goes in there, right? You might have usually 4 guys framing, and then 2 guys show up for a few days to help them, and then they go back to another job. How does all get factored in?
Yeah, that's where the software makes this so much easier than trying to calculate all that manually. And the first step is everybody gets awarded if they earn a bonus, because if they finish the job ahead of schedule and they've earned a bonus, those bonus dollars are distributed based on a prorated amount, depending on how many hours you put into the job. So Bob, Jim, and Sam have 80 hours into it, and Mark, Jim, and Tom put in 200 hours each. They're earning a higher part of that incentive than the team that put in fewer hours. They were there for part of the job. We also see companies break projects into multiple, we call them pro pays. So your overall project might have some demolition and the new floor and some maybe a new wall going in, and then hang some new cabinets and put in a new countertop, new sink, fixtures. Each of those in theory can be a separate pro pay that says, for that team, I'm giving you this target number of hours to do your part of the job. And when you're finished, that's what I'm going to pay you guys out on. It's different companies, and other companies will put it all into one big one and let the team get a prorated amount based on their hours. We don't really tell a company how they should do it. It's more internally their approach to it. I've certainly seen the granularity be beneficial because it informs back to estimating where you're overperforming more than you thought. We have seen some trades blow numbers away, like way faster than what contractors thought their team could do. And so what they do is then they take that data and they begin to optimize their labor, both across their estimates and across what they're paying out. That's really the longer term value proposition to what Protiv does, that allows the optimization of labor. The more I know about what the team is performing between each of those trays, doing all those different things, I can say, wow, our demolition team is a lot faster than we thought. The team, our countertops are taking forever to get in when we keep missing that number. It's granularity that you can use to feed estimating.
Does it get to a point where companies will start to reduce that price then? So then there's less of a chance to get bonuses for employees?
So you can only rotate that knob so far, right? Because then you lose the motivation. That's why it's a constant part. It's why it is a partnership, a constant evolution of this partnership with your field team. You want them to have that goal in front of them. And at the same time, you probably don't want to radically overpay them. We have had clients come in and their employees are making 50% bonuses on these jobs because they were way overpaying before. We have others, you see this sometimes, landscaping, painting, some trades like that, where the teams can be a lot more productive when they get their head into it. I don't tend to find high voltage electricians getting 30% more productive. They can only go so fast with what they do, and so but they do get 10% faster. They get 9% faster. These are real production lifts across all trades right now. We're averaging right at a 20% lift in productivity blended rate against all trades. We've got a lot of different trades in the system. And that's really being shown and manifesting into about 18% lift in wages for the team and a slight decrease in labor costs for the companies.
That's impressive for sure. Do any of the companies run into, I guess, some internal issues where workers want to be on specific projects or do specific work because they know they can make more work or make more money?
Yes, they do. 100%. And they see that in the context of workers want to be on pro-pay jobs because there's the bonus opportunity. And then the bigger thing is when the workers will come in and say, boss, you didn't get the cabinets delivered on time and you held us up and you cost us a bonus. That's a hard conversation.
Right.
when you didn't do something logistically correct, please don't send Bob back to the job because that guy can't tell a level from a hammer. It's these guys will care about stuff that they didn't necessarily care about before, and it creates complex conversations. I would humbly suggest that the other side of those conversations is something really good. You got to push through it. You got to eat some crow sometimes. Say, I'm sorry, man. You're right. I screwed up. I didn't order the cabinets in time, and they're late. Well, all right, we're going to be better next time as a team. And it becomes a team thing. Everybody has to pull together if you're going to execute construction. You know the deal. We do not make the money people think we make in this industry, right? It is a tight margin business. The average general contract, average contract in the US, I think is around 4% or so. See different numbers. It is not a high margin business. We can't get it wrong. We need a full team to execute. Aligned thinking, communicating, teamwork, the whole deal. That is the necessity to pull that off is an incentive for the worker to care. You can't just I like the company barbecues quarterly. That is not enough. These guys want to get paid different. And they want a little control over that. You also can't pay them on gross profit quarterly or even monthly. They don't know what that means. It's not even they don't know what it means. It's just they don't understand what
they don't know how they
it.
can. Yeah, they don't know how they can have an impact on it.
Yes, and so what they do know is labor budget. They got that, and they know that if this takes 200 hours, I can do it in 180 because we're going to get it done the right way. Another big thing that we focus on is the quality side. Bonuses are held until quality sign-offs take place, and that varies from trade to trade depending on how they approach this. But it's really important that the team hold each other accountable to quality and et cetera. What we have found is that peer pressure is a better accountability tool than supervisors. Your supervisor is not as good at holding your workers accountable to quality standards, KPIs, targets, et cetera, as their coworkers are. Bob, the peer pressure works. That Bob, you do not want to let your coworker down. They will tell you about it. They have a whole different language between themselves about execution when that execution is important to them financially. And it is a really positive step to get through the hard parts of those conversations where everybody's like, please don't send Bob back, because he's just not getting it done. That may be complicated, but the other side of that is a more efficient company. Whether you got to train Bob up or whether you've got to, let Bob go, there's something good on the other side of that, because now everybody wants the same thing, which is success.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's definitely true. I've seen that too, where when everyone's counting on somebody, you don't want to be late for work, or you don't want to be the first guy to leave or something like that, right? There's that peer pressure for sure, because then or else you kind of, it's self-selecting, right? A lot of these jobs, if you part of the team, part of the family, you get let in. If you're not playing by the rules, then you'll get booted out.
You will get voted off the island. And it's funny because these are it's the hardest part of this whole thing is it's not putting the price in place and giving the team a goal and seeing if they beat it. That's the functional task. The software does that fine. It's not even hard to do. The tricky part is managing this cultural evolution with your company, the communication that's going to take place, the hard conversations that are going to take place. But there's so much value in the other side of that event that we're just a better place as contractors when we can get through and develop that kind of environment within our family.
Absolutely. What are you most excited about in the future, whether that's within the business or in the industry as a whole?
Yeah, I think that what's going to happen is that we're creating an environment where the workers have some control over their own life. We're very worker centric with this product. We spend a lot of time really wanting the trades guys, wanting the craftsmen to benefit from this being in place. So when we look at our product roadmap, the next big step for us is the education training side of it, best practice sharing across companies. What's the best way to, do this task? And I want to be able to share my best practice and learn from others, around the country. We think that's got big legs to it. We think that the part after that, some non-monetary rewards. Once you get the monetary side in place, the next thing we want to do is let's incentivize people in different ways, because different workers may view things a little differently in terms of what's really important to them once their safety needs of financial are met. So is it flex time? Is it time off? Is it points systems, et cetera? So, and where we roll that into are things like safety training. Have you finished all your OSHA classes? You get X points that roll up into some incentive type structures, all kind of bringing it back to how do we help the workers to be more successful, to be safe on the job. And then we've got a daily pay structure we're going to put in where if the team member needs money during the week, they can access some of their earned wages that they've already picked up on at that point in time. So rolling those kind of features into the system, how do we help the worker? How do we help the worker? How do we help the worker? Keeping it focused on them. That they are the only path to solving the labor crisis in construction. We are not going to create enough new carpenters out of high school. We're not going to build enough carpentry robots to solve this problem. Not in my lifetime, anyway. It is the solution to the labor shortage in our industry is going to come from getting workers in the field to care more. And I believe that we're going to do that. I believe we can create the right incentive and partnership. It's an ownership feeling. It's a sense of pride in what I do, a sense of teamwork and community. And that is really powerful for us as an industry.
Absolutely. Are you able to provide this in any country or only specific countries right now, or only the US?
US and Canada at the moment. We have clients in the US and Canada across probably 25 different trade verticals at this point. So pretty much everything. We have heavy civil road building companies using it, and we have, Bob's painting, kind of he and, 4 friends. So, I mean, we've really got a pretty wide variety of customers on board right now. And we've talked to a few folks outside of the US and Canada. We just haven't really pulled the trigger just there yet.
Right.
South Korea, New Zealand, England, some other places, but we'll probably get there. We all have the same challenge, right? We want to get our hourly team or daily paid team aligned and get more from them. We don't have enough people. We don't have enough skilled craftsmen. So how can we do that without driving up our labor costs by just increasing wages? Straight increasing wages doesn't solve the problem. It's if you just pay someone more, you're just paying them more. What you have to do is create an incentive for them to be able to earn more.
Yeah, exactly. Because we pay them more, and then all it does is drive up the price for the homeowner at the end of the day.
It's not a practical evolution.
No. And last question just lost my train of thought. I had it on the tip of my tongue. Oh yeah, pricing. That's what I want to do. Where are we at for pricing? How does this work? Because I know this is a service, right? So we're talking about adding an added overhead cost to a company as well, but they're going to, in theory, make that money back in other ways. Yeah. So what kind of costs are companies typically looking at?
So We like to charge $1 million a month per worker, but we can't quite charge that much. So we actually make this pretty, first of all, we give folks the system for free to try it. I literally will just give it to you. And we usually say a couple of weeks, a month. I'm not even so much hung up on that. We want people to put it on a job and see if it begins to change behavior. This isn't about the bonus side. This is about if the workers begin to change their behavior, you're going to win. And then you'll happily pay me the $9.95 per worker per month that we charge for the software. So basically $10 a worker a month. And we find that, you've got 20 guys, 12, 15 people, 25 people, whatever, that it's a pretty absorbable cost when you look at it against the upside on the revenue, compression of your labor costs, efficiency within the team. It's, got a lot of pushback on pricing. We get more conversations around, what's this going to mean culturally? Usually the price is pretty absorbable. And we don't have implementation fees. We don't charge, there's no long-term contract, month to month. In fact, if your company is seasonal, we don't even charge you during the winter. Or whatever your season is. It really is. I think it's because we're a construction company. We're very attuned to the reality of the fact we bring people on, we let people go, or we have seasonality and fluctuations in our business. We try to make it easy to buy, easy to try it, and cost effective for what you pay for it.
It's fantastic. Another question popped in my mind while you're talking. For us, and I'm assuming a lot of other companies, we use a project management software, right? Where people are clocking in, clocking out, choosing cost codes and so forth. Yes. How does that play in with your software?
Yeah, we usually try and get integrated to that. And so whether it's Buildertrend or Procore or the host of other systems that are out there, there's different, you had an HCSS, I think it is, within the heavy civil world, and you've got LMN in the landscaping world. And then people have, there's 100 time and attendance platforms out there, from Exact Time to Busy. All these systems are built right into a lot of these platforms. All fine with us. We will look for an import-export structure with that. If they have an API where we can extract time attendance information, because that's the main piece of data we need from your system. Is we need you to tell us who's working on the job, how much you want to pay for that task, and then we need to know how much time they spent on it. And so we generally do that through an integration, and then we'll give you a report. You pull a report out of our software once a week for payroll. So it's pushed to whatever payroll system. So you don't have to disrupt the CRM platforms and the operating platforms that you use today in order to use our system.
Perfect. Yeah, we actually use Buildertrend here. So, and I'm assuming a lot of other people use Buildertrend. So
we do. Buildertrend specifically, we have a complete deep integration coming out in Q3. The CEO of Buildertrend loved what we're building, brought his dev team over to our booth at IBS, and they're doing a full resell, rev share integration all the way into Buildertrend. So it should be really cool. So your projects will be right there. Your all your time data will be right there, and be able to manage that completely seamlessly here by Q3.
Amazing. Well, Michael, this has been fantastic. Thanks so much. Before I let you go, any parting words of advice for our listeners and viewers? This goes on YouTube.
Yeah. Something that someone said to me a long time ago, and I still think it works so well in our industry. We tend to think of, I really want to take care of my customer. You hear that all the time. Take care of your customer. The reality for most of us is we really need to take care of our people. Our people actually take care of our product, which takes care of our customer. And I can't emphasize enough to please spend time with your team. Whether you use a system like ours, now it doesn't even make any difference. Talk to them, get to know them, ask them how they're doing, know their kids' names, know their dog's name. If you care about your team and get to know them and partner with them as human beings, they will take care of your product, which takes care of your people, which takes care of your revenue, which takes care of your profit, takes care of your reinvestment and your retirement. Like, that's the cycle. It doesn't actually, believe it or not, start with the end customer over there, right? It actually starts with taking care of people. And that is I think the heart of building a great company and a scalable growth engine for any of us.
Absolutely. 100% agree on that. Thanks again, Michael. I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me today.
Absolutely, Casey. Enjoyed it very much.
Did you know that on average, year after year, over the last 10 years, electricity has gone up by 20% across the US? If you live in the US and you want to beat the utility company at their own game, I have partnered with Apricot Solar and Freedom Forever to save you thousands of dollars. Because of high tax incentives and solar decreasing in costs by 50% over the last 10 years, there has never been a better time to add solar to your home. If you're interested in seeing if your home qualifies, you can head to theconsciousbuilder.com/solar. And don't worry if you don't have the money up front. As I mentioned before, there are great financing options that can get you solar for $0 up front. Once again, that's theconsciousbuilder.com/solar. Until next time, I'm Casey Gray, and remember to live consciously.